Guys, I'm the Dao King, and today we have a very interesting interview with Biss. And this is a gentleman that had $2,000 to his name, worked it all the way up to $5 million, and that $5 million went away. And we're going to hear the story about how he was able, without a formal education, to work his way up. He's doing fine now, and we're going to hear about the story because this is a story that I think a lot of people will resonate with and understand what happened here. And I want to welcome Biss and thank you for taking the time. He is in England, so it's nighttime over there. It looks beautiful. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
So I want to hear your story because I think so many traders in crypto, a lot of people get into crypto to make fast money. A lot of people here, like there's trading bots that are going to make them millions of dollars. They're getting to these schemes where they're getting 1 or 2% a day. What do you feel about these schemes? What do you think about these people that are teaching people how to trade? How do you feel about them as someone that's actually made money trading?
So I've been in the trading space for about seven years now. I joined in 2017, and I've seen the peak of the bull run in 2017. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of people not telling the truth about how they actually make their income. And I spent years figuring it out myself, and I've just thought I'd come along and show the light. I'd like to show people the truth about trading.
The truth is what we're after because I think a lot of people are spending $100, $200, or $1,000 on these trading courses. Do you think those trading courses are worth it, or can you find that information online yourself? What is your background?
Yeah, so I think there's nothing wrong with investing in yourself. I think it's probably the best thing to do because there are people out there that they have years of experience, but you're paying them to shortcut that learning process. However, the issue lies is when the people are not genuine and they're in it for a quick buck, and the person buying feels scammed, but anywhere in life, I think if you're trying to purchase somebody's experience or their knowledge, it's going to cost you, especially if it's one-on-one. But of course, if you want to spend the time finding it online, it's all there for free, but you can shortcut it by paying someone. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
When did you really start making? You said you started in 2017. How long was it before you really started making money?
Yeah, so in 2017, it was probably about a year. It was about 6 months. And then I remember there was one point in the chart where everyone was extremely bullish. And I didn't trade it because I'd already got liquidated by this point. Well, but I was down pretty bad, about 99%, which is as good as. But I was kind of like watching it live, and I saw people's emotions, and they were really bullish at the top. And I was not convinced. There was just something in my gut. I don't know what it was. I just was watching it, and it nuked from there. It was probably about 12K BTC, and it went down to 6. And from that point, I was like, well, if nobody else is going to come and save me there, so I've got to learn this myself. Everyone else online was not telling the truth. They put their emotions first, and by that point, I thought, well, I've only got myself to rely on. And that's that.
That's actually really amazing that you came to that conclusion, and you did something in this right now. You did something that most traders won't admit, that you admitted failure. Most traders that I talk to, they always say, I always make money. And that's just a bunch of crap. No trader is perfect, right? Can you just explain that to us? Like, do you win on most of your trades, or like, what's your winning percentage or loss? Can you give us like some real data about this?
Yeah, so I really believe that trading is a lot like a sport in itself. So not every trader is going to have the best day. For Americans, no basketball player is ever going to have the best day ever. Even Kobe had his bad days, It's the same with trading. You're not going to have the best days every day. You're not going to win every day. But I've kind of pivoted my trading style over the years to being a lot more patient and waiting for the higher time frame levels, and once you wait for the higher time frame levels, it gives you the best odds of being successful.
When you say higher time frame levels, you're talking about that pattern that you can really feel confident in, that you're seeing that pattern, right? That you're like, okay, it's going to nuke from here, or it's going to go higher from here. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So I think the levels that are the strongest are the higher time frame ones. So like the weekly, the monthly, and potentially even the daily. So those kind of higher time frame levels, and if you trade around them, they're usually going to give you the biggest reactions and the best reactions. They're not going to chop around at those levels as much.
I want to show people your Twitter page, and you guys can follow him over at Twitter. What I love seeing this stuff, because you guys are gonna love this. So this is the real deal, guys. He's the real deal. Here he is with his Ferrari. You know, do you still got the Ferrari?
That was when I was living in Dubai.
Oh, okay. So you live. We got to get into all of this. Oh, there's a Dubai here. So okay, I like this. It gets deeper. He's just not a British.
I have one here at the moment in the UK.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of people in your area with Ferraris?
Yeah. So because I'm in the city center, there's a lot of high end cars around here. So I like to surround myself with like other people that are like on the same path, because I think who you hang around with is definitely who you're going to be influenced off.
Yeah, well said. And that's actually very important, because a lot of people are, they don't surround themselves with the right people, or they live in areas that are not conducive to finding the right mentality. So that's actually well put. Exactly. I love this. I turned $2,000 to $5 million in a few years trading, just to have it all stolen by criminals. And we're going to get to this, guys. We're going to get to who these criminals are, because you actually know who these criminals are. And it's a really fascinating story, because he's going to put a person, feelings, a face towards something that has happened to many people, which is incredible. And you're transparent. You show your accounts, and you can follow him. I'll put the link in the description. He's right here at Biss BTC. So you were 60. So you left school at 16 years old to become an engineer. We talked about it. You went to like some apprentice school. Then you discovered crypto. So you're still very young, right?
Yeah. I'm 24 now. So this was It's
crazy to go through this at your age, and then you lost everything, which I love, because I think even if you're out here thinking like you just lost 50 grand or 100 grand or 10 grand or whatever you lost right now, that's a lot of money to you. I think you took it as an experience, right? You learned from that moment. It seems like, more than anything, right?
Yeah. So in any, say, hardship, I think you've got to look at the best position you are in. So I think even if you've lost something, what can you gain? I know that sounds counterintuitive, but for every reaction, there's an opposite one of the Newton's laws. So if there's a reaction, you're gonna have an opposite and equal reaction on the other way. So if you lose money in either trading, a rug pull, or anything like that, you can't be down about it. You can't change that. It's happened. You just have to see it yourself and see what you can learn from that. Otherwise, you won't be able to move forward if you're constantly looking in the past.
Yeah. And then, you kind of showed people how you got there. You went from 20,000, it went from 2,000 to 20,000. And then you took it, you grew the 10 to $500,000. And then you're talking about, you joined a hedge fund in Dubai. So can you tell us, how did this happen? How did you join a hedge fund in Dubai? How did that happen?
Yeah. So, I had a friend where I live, and it was his hedge fund, and I went and worked with him over there.
Okay.
So yeah,
so
that was how it.
He saw you were a good trader, and then he basically said, "Come on over here and help us trade." Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah. That's exactly what happened, and I was there when it was built, in the building phases of how it was built. Yeah.
How long did you stay with the hedge fund?
I stayed with the hedge fund for about 6 to 8 months. Yeah.
How did you do? Were you trading well, or how was it going?
Yeah, I personally left. I didn't see eye to eye with the owner anymore, and
Okay.
I just didn't. Yeah, I left the hedge fund there.
You left. Are they still around, that hedge fund, or are they moved on to?
No, the hedge fund's not there.
Okay. How did you like living in Dubai? Because it seems like you're having a good time here.
Yeah, so I did enjoy living in Dubai. So it was good.
This is a nice view
all year round. Oh yeah, that's
you have a nice view
in downtown. Yeah,
downtown. You have your girlfriend who adds to the view, it looks like. So you were down there partying. So it's just too hot. Dubai is just too hot, basically, right?
So in the summer, it's quite hot. It's about nearly 45, 50 degrees. Celsius, not Fahrenheit. Sorry.
Celsius. It's up there.
Yeah, it's I don't know what that is in
Fahrenheit. I don't even know myself. Yeah. It's probably over 100, 120, probably 110, 120. Yeah.
It's hot, but in the winter, so like coming now into November, December, it's a lot cooler, and it's a good place to be.
So I'm gonna touch on something, because we're gonna touch on it. You got to $5 million. How did you feel at that moment? You had $5 million in your bank account. You're showing us right here where you have it. You have the Ferrari. You're in Dubai, or you're back in England, wherever you are. You have all this. Everything's great.
Yeah.
How did that feel for you at that moment, at such a young age?
To be honest, it didn't really feel because it was so incremental, and obviously it did happen fast, but I already seen myself there from ages ago. So I was like, when it happened, it was kind of like, oh, is this it? Like, it wasn't as hard as people make out. It's like, I think people put those things on a pedestal, and they think those barriers are so hard to achieve. And if you put things on a pedestal, they don't really come to you. But if you believe, and if you believe in yourself and back yourself, I don't think it's that hard to achieve. But when I'm there, it's amazing. Yeah, it's everything it's expected to be.
And then you wake up one morning and your funds are gone. $5 million gone, and it was because it was on FTX, correct? Is that what happened? These two wonderful people here.
Yeah. So I was actually at the track. I was training at the athletics, and I came back and I saw these notifications on Twitter saying, "Oh my God, FTX has gone bankrupt," and I didn't believe it. Genuinely, I didn't believe it. And people were complaining about how they couldn't withdraw, and I didn't try to withdraw anything. And it was a day later that I was like, well, why is people saying my funds are stuck? So I tried to withdraw some money from my account, and it just kept going pending. So it kind of set in over a few days.
How did you feel? Yeah.
The initial sting was bad. It was a bit of panic. Not panic. I don't like to say I was panicking, but it was just a bit of shock more than panic. I was like, it was more so the fact that out of all of the things that you could lose money on in crypto, of getting rugged on a coin, or sending it to a bad project, or getting your wallet hacked, that it was one of the quote unquote safest bets in the most regulated exchange that you could have through the American system. And it went down, and I was very surprised.
Yeah. Now you see that Sam Bankman Freid is on trial. When do you watch the trial at all, or how does it make you feel when you see what's going on?
I don't watch the trial, to be honest, and I haven't looked at anything in it, because again, I don't think I use that same mentality again, that I had to accept that it was gone. I couldn't be I didn't have time to sit around and be like, oh, maybe it's going to come back, because what happens if it doesn't? And I've just wasted a bunch of time sat here, sat on my hands waiting for something that's not going to come back. So I kind of had to very fast figure out some solutions to what I could do to get myself getting consistent income again from trading.
Got it. And I mean, we'll get to that, what your next chapter was and how you rebuilt yourself. But is there anything you would ever say to Sam Bankman Freid or people like Carolyn Ellison? They literally stole from you. What you're just a kid. It took you. I mean, that's life-changing money. Most people, $5 million. I mean, my God, most people could live off that forever. Like you were set in your 20s, 22, 23 years old. You were set. You were done. Like, what would you say to them if you ever had an opportunity to? Because you are a real victim. You are the face of what FTX has done to millions of people, but yours is obviously at a much higher level. Yeah,
well, I believe that if you act in a bad way, that I think what comes to you will come back to you. So the way they've treated others, they'll receive the consequences some way or another one day, I think.
Okay. And then unless
unless he's a complete psychopath. And I think he is. So
might be. He's kind of admitted to that to a degree that he doesn't feel any sort of kind of feelings, I guess, in a lot of these things. It's kind of weird.
He has to watch his back for the rest of his life. It's not a place. If he's a free man, he's got to watch his back for the rest of his life. So yeah.
Very true. Very true. As far as you were on FTX International, or were you on the or that's the one you were in, or is it, I don't know if there was a FTX UK. I don't know how that worked.
No, I was on the international one because it was just because you had FTX US and then you had just the FTX International.
Right. Yeah. The FTX International is the one that's more insolvent. I mean, you might get something I've read, so you might get a couple bucks, but you're never going to see the full $5 million.
I don't know. Certainly not. I think even Cryptopia. Do you remember Cryptopia?
Oh my God, I got hacked on Cryptopia.
Yeah. So
I was on Cryptopia.
that one's still undergoing now, even 5 years down the line. So, and they're a lot smaller. I think.
Yes. And you know what's crazy about Cryptopia? A lot of people don't realize this. It was in New Zealand, so people kind of felt safe. And then it was in New Zealand. And what's crazy about Cryptopia is they had like, God, I don't remember how many millions of funds they had. Please keep in mind, this is from the last bull run, so the numbers are smaller. I think they had like $30 million or 20 or 30 or $40 million recovered. But now, because of all the lawyer fees and the government fees and all these things, last time I looked, it was like under 10 million. Yeah. So like all the money's gone. And then Cryptopia, what's really messed up about them is they only are letting, if you're a New Zealand citizen, claim the money. If you're not a New Zealand citizen, they're basically saying you can go piss off.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Because I looked into it. Yeah. I had, God, when Cryptopia went down, I had about $40,000 on it. Really? So yeah, I remember about 7 ETH, which I had bought at like $100, dude. I bought it like 100, maybe even less. I might even had more ETH. I don't even remember anymore. I know it was at least 7 ETH. So if you think about it, that 7 ETH right now would be worth, minimum
about 70.
12,000. Yeah, about 12, almost $13,000 right now. So that's 7 ETH I had bought for like $700 is worth $13,000, and it's just gone, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's just gone. And that was someone's pot, and that was just the ETH I had. I had a whole bunch of other shit coins, so I don't even know what those are worth. Those probably went to zero, but. You like you said, you got to learn from it. You got to pick yourself up. So what happened? You lost all this money. You had all your money in FTX. You told me you only had about $3,000 left to your name.
Yes.
then. How'd you pick yourself back up? How'd you get to where you are right now? Because it looks like you're doing quite well again.
Yeah. So I have an amazing circle around me of amazing people that were there for me, and initially they helped me out by buying me a couple of prop accounts, so prop firm accounts. So for people who aren't aware of what these are, you can pay a small fee. You can take a trading challenge. You can hit the goals. So say you make 10%. There's one or two steps, and then you get allocation to a certain amount of funding. And I took one of these tests. Bearing in mind, I never took one before. I'd only ever traded personal capital, so it's like a whole new learning experience into the FX markets as well. So I was trading some crypto, and I was trading FX markets.
So you were trading Forex also?
Yeah, I was trading Forex as well. Yeah.
Forex. Okay. So do you trade Forex now?
Yeah. So actually, I do quite enjoy a mixture of both markets, especially as crypto's been a little bit more quiet. There's been less volatility as there has been over the last, say, 5 to 7 years, a lot less. So it's actually been quite enjoyable to trade some Forex pairs as well.
So it's been almost, has it been like a year since you've lost the money on FTX?
Yes, a year. Yeah. So it's nearly been a year. And
are you back to your $5 million, or how are you doing now?
So I've got multiple 7 figures in funding now of like these prop firms. So I've got multiples of 7 figures in funding, and I've been able to multiply a 6-figure personal account. So I'll be releasing some stuff soon on that exact trade that made me over 100 grand on the personal account. Yeah.
Wow. And Biss is here not because he's trying to promote anything or sell you guys anything. He just wants to share a story, which is
that'll be that's going to be completely free. I'll post it on Twitter.
Yeah. He's a good guy. You guys got to follow guys like this who are genuine, who are real, who want to help people who have been through it, so that you don't have to kind of go, you can learn from somebody who knows, versus I see a lot of really bad information on Twitter and on YouTube. A lot of these YouTubers who say they're great or master traders. Listen, man, you ain't going to be selling a course for $50 a month if you traded that well to like 1,000. They're just trying to get 1,000 people to join, give them $50 a month, they make 50 grand. They're not even good traders, because they would be making that kind of money like you. You're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're doing well again. You're back. You're back. You're getting it going again, basically.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about Forex trading? Like, how is it different? Because I know a lot of people who lose money. I have a couple friends, and even myself, that have lost significant amounts on Forex trading. Most people use like bots on Forex trading, and the bots seem to do well for a period of time, and then they start losing. What is the reasoning for this?
So I personally believe that I've actually been speaking to a friend of mine, and he actually does trade with a very mechanical system. And I actually did, so last year I helped teach him. There was a certain situation. I just helped him out. We sat on calls like this one, and I literally just sat him down one-to-one and was helping him trade. And he ended up coming out with a very different style to mine. And that's fine, because you can learn from somebody, but you can take points that you like and leave points that you don't like. You don't have to be a carbon copy, and nobody ever will be a carbon copy of somebody else. And this is where we've actually had this discussion. He said that his trading system is very mechanical. And I said, it's literally impossible to have a fully mechanic trading system, because otherwise you'll be able to make it into a bot. Now, which is fine, you can make it into a bot, but it will constantly need tweaking. So I think where a human in front of the screen is good rather than a bot. And that's why someone like myself would get paid from trading, because I understand the market conditions and when to apply the system. So whereas unlike a bot, it just thinks in binary numbers, 0 and 1. It doesn't think, oh, well, it doesn't understand context of the markets. Let's say the current situation. Let's say last year we had a lot of inflation in 2022. The bot won't understand that, and the bot wouldn't understand, the entire market context of this, that, and the other. It just trades what it sees point blank, nothing else. So when it comes down to it, it's a discretionary level when you apply your system and when you don't apply your system.
You know, that's the best explanation anyone's given me about why it works or doesn't. And I appreciate that, because it helps me understand these things better. And all we can do is understand better so we can do better, you know?
Yeah. So I'm not saying that the bots don't work ever. Because there are like quant traders out there, and they're amazing. Like I'm not going to compete with them sometimes. But I believe in longevity, I would back myself over a robot.
Yeah. Do you ever use leverage on your trades?
Yeah. So I have a very unique idea when it comes to leverage and like risk per se. I would use leverage, yes. So I believe it's going to be, let's say, I think leverage is okay in certain situations.
Okay, so generally you're not using leverage, right? You're generally like you're buying something 1-to-1. You're not usually using leverage.
No, so because I'm on if I was going to trade on futures, I would potentially use leverage, but it would be like 1.5. It just depends on the risk. So it depends where your stop loss is and how tight it is and how much you want to risk. Then you would use leverage. That's how I would use it. Or
so you don't do crazy shit like we do in crypto where we do 50x or 30x leverage, 20x leverage. You don't do that crazy stuff.
No, so so there'll be a certain situation where I would want to use that, right?
Okay.
So if I'm trying to if I don't care about the money, and I would say if I wanted to just do a stupid number account, like say for example, I wanted to just grow $1,000 into X amount. Let's just because once you're there. It's give or take. Let's just use an example: 1,000 to 100,000, right? The goal of that is aggressive growth, and I wouldn't care if I lost that $1,000 because my main aim is to hit that 100,000, and I wouldn't be getting to that 100,000 using normal risk management. You're going to need to use excessive risk to make money, because let's say if you want a farm, the sayings don't bet the farm on every trade. But if you haven't got a farm, then you haven't got a farm to bet with. So if you're in a smaller capital situation, I would suggest to use prop firms that can leverage your funding, or master the basics of trading. Once you've mastered the basics of trading, then you can apply the excessive risk in a certain situation, i.e. a bull market. I wouldn't use excessive leverage in, say, like a choppy market condition, a range-bound market condition like we're currently in 2023.
Got it. And do you use like RSI and MACD and these things, these indicators? You use these indicators like everyone else does too?
No, I've never used MACD, never. But I would occasionally. Wow. So everything would be from the chart in front of me. And then if I wanted to, I would potentially add an RSI. There's only a few times I would use the RSI on the chart that would work. So like, for example, the only RSI that I ever really use is the daily on the Bitcoin. So if I go onto Bitcoin and turn it to the daily, when it is in the overbought territory, it usually is pretty overextended. And if it's in the oversold, it is pretty overextended again to the downside. But that again would only work with support and resistance levels that I mentioned earlier on the higher time frame.
So you're generally pattern trading with the averages more than you are looking at the daily with the MACD or the RSI. Like you're not buying and selling like a little bit up and a little bit down. You're looking for bigger swings, right? It looks like. Is that?
Yeah. So
okay.
I much prefer the bigger swings. I believe that the biggest growth is there than trying to penny pinch on every little tiny move.
So you're basically trying to make what's a good percentage for you to make on a trade? 1 to 5%? Is that what you're looking at? Or
yeah, so I would I would definitely take anything. I would say if I risked 1%, I would like to make 3+. That would be my minimum.
So you're looking at at least a 3% move up and down. Oh, I see. So you're definitely more in like the pattern trading kind of category.
Yes, I wouldn't trade patterns on their own, but I would. Most of my charts only require 1 to 2 levels, so I would just pick one support and resistance level, and then just trade off that, and that is it. So I mainly trade rain. So I identify which market condition we're in, and then trade upon that. So yeah, one level I usually just trade off.
Are you looking at 100-day or 50-day or 200-day as your targets? What are you looking at?
What do you mean by targets?
Like the moving averages, like to decide on how you're going to get in or out of a trade.
I don't really use moving averages, so I would genuinely look at a blank chart, completely blank, and I would draw 1 to 2 levels on there, support and resistance, and then trade over them. And that so support and resistance, that's literally all I use.
You use, that's it? Support and resistance? You don't use anything else?
So I have a free trading course that explains my strategy in 5 steps only. I think I can explain the 5 steps like within a few minutes, easy. So it would be.
I would love. Yeah, I'd love to hear this.
Yeah. So step number 1, I would pick a higher time frame level. So it would just be if you can identify a level, that's the step 1. Step 2 would be identifying which market condition we're in. So if we're in a range or are we in a trend? And I think if you can identify which market condition we're in, and they're the only 2 market conditions there really is that we're going sideways or it's going up. So if you notice at any chart, it goes sideways, up or down. Obviously that's going to be discretionary, but then once it goes up or down, and then it will go into another sideways movement and then up again. So if you can pick the levels, you can then identify which market condition we're in. If we're in a consolidation, I would trade a range, and that means I would just take profits quickly, and I would only play at the resistance or the support. And then if we're in a trend, like a bull market or a straight vertical bear market, I would just I would hold my positions because things move away and displaces in a consecutive manner, which means your positions are safe and you can hold it without you being stopped out. So once you've identified those 2 things, I would then look for liquidity. You can see liquidity where if you understand where most traders are trapped, say if the price is pushed up and more price pushes up, more buyers just ape in. They just ape in because price goes up and then it comes back down below a swing high. That would be a short entry because buyers are trapped. So then price then pushes them away and forces them out their position.
Oh, so I see what you're saying. Okay.
So that would be my entry. Once I know where other people are trapped, they'd be then we can enter the market. Then I would use top-down analysis. So what I do by this is I start on the monthly, go down to the weekly, then the daily, with those support and resistance levels in step 1. And then I would execute my trade on the 1 to 15 minute time frame. So then I analyze the markets on the higher time frame and execute on the lower time frame. And then step number 5 is the execution.
Interesting. I got you have your course on your Discord, I believe, right?
Yes, yeah, it's in there. It's in the Discord. It sounds a lot more complicated over words because I can't visually show you, but it's very simple once it's broken down.
I'm gonna have to check this out. This sounds very interesting, very different than what a lot of people teach out there. So I appreciate the difference in looking at things. Like you have to kind of, like you always have to see what's out there, what people are doing, and this is different. What you have is really different. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think I like because I believe that if you look at a chart, it's quite daunting. If you've never looked at a chart before, it's very daunting and it's very it looks very complicated. But I think if you can simplify things, then you become not fearless, but it gives you some sort of ease when you look into it. Whereas I don't think if you make something more complicated, you work yourself up and it's more like you put more emotions into it and then it affects your decision making. And then you've by the end of it, you don't know which level to trade off of. You don't know where to react or act in the market.
Do you take days off when like there's going to be the Fed is talking or some big event, economic event is happening? Do you trade those days or do you take those days off?
No, so I will look at them, but I've kind of come to realization that I don't need. They're just volatility events, so they're an injection in volatility. So they make the charts move. If we were, say, trading into one of my key levels on a news day, I would probably pay attention because it might react at my level because it's going to inject some volatility. However, if we're just in the middle of a nowhere and it's not really doing anything, and then I won't be interested. I will just take the trade if it's coming into my area, and that's it.
Man, that's so interesting, everything you have to say. I thank you for your time, Biss. I mean, I think a lot of people can learn a lot from everything that you're saying here. And, I'll see what comments or questions people have. Maybe we'll have you back on again. I mean,
I'm always happy to.
Yeah, it's just great to hear from people who have been successful. Are you stress trading? Is it stressful in general, or you look like you got a handle on your stress?
Yeah, I think I do sort of enjoy stress. I've always seemed to put myself in situations in life that have always brought stress on, but I think if you can handle that stress, then it's not a problem. And I think it always keeps me mentally stimulated. But if there's other people, say if you're on the other end of the spectrum and you don't like stress, then yeah, trading you can also do it as well. Like, I think it's just the way people handle things differently.
Well, I hope you get something back from FTX. I think it would be a nice little present for you if it even happens in a couple years. I think the American government will move a little bit faster than the New Zealand one. So, yeah. I can't even believe you brought up Cryptopia. What a sore spot that is for me. But I appreciate your time. We'll talk further and we'll go from there. Thank you for coming on.
Perfect. Thank you for having me on.